Dancing in the dark, in a town where the night is long, and the day never seems to come.
Welcome everybody to this Sunday's Zeta Global Radio. I am Lainey Savante, and I am so pleased to share with you this show today. I've known our guest for a very long time, and it's just wonderful to see the continued beautiful work she does in the world for humanity and for all of us. And of course, you saw that the topic we're here today to talk about is music as medicine. And coming from our world here at Pharmadelica Studios, music is medicine 100% to us. We are absolutely aligned with the belief that music can make all the difference, as evidenced by our passion project, Music Till Earth, and all the beautiful conscious musicians we have on this show. So today is no exception. You're in for a treat to meet Mary Arose. I am so excited to have you here, Mary. So I'm just going to say welcome to the show, and I'm going to not even read a bio. I'm just going to let you share who you are, and let's just get into this wonderful time together, because I know we're going to have a lot to cover. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, Lainey Savante. I just feel really thankful just for also the evolution of your work, and it's actually really beautiful to see over the years that our work is like growing more in tandem with one another. So thank you so much for having me on to speak about this topic of music as medicine. And I actually did not really have much of a musical upbringing, but through the years, music has become my deep medicine for the growth and expression of my soul. And I am excited to be sharing this project, Daughter Dear, which I've been cultivating over the last couple of years. But really the root of it came through devotional music. It's been interesting to me to really have started with music as a devotional spiritual practice, and then for it to evolve into creating original music of my own.
It wasn't really where you were originally growing up, but I've known you for a very long time, and we've had the beautiful similar connection to grandmother Florida Mayo, and we both have and she's of course a dear, and she's on our Music Till the Earth album, and we've dallied in the film world together, and I've seen you go off to India, and I've seen you do many things through the years, always beautiful, enlightened projects, and of course we've intersected through the years on them, as you had said. And then you were asking me about Music to Heal the Earth, and then you unfolded what you were up to. And I guess somewhere in between we've lost touch a little bit, getting the nitty gritty, but your world had shifted. And then suddenly you were working on this, and I was like, well, I'm going to support her whatever she's doing, because everything that you do with such beauty, and you do it with such grace and care and integrity and passion. And so how you have evolved into this is so divine, and I can't wait for you to share more about this project and, of course, this topic, music as medicine. Because here we are in this world, and we know that music can make a difference. And it's obviously made a difference personally for you. So do you want to maybe share a little bit about the background of that and what it means to you to have music as medicine?
Absolutely. I feel that the feminine finding her voice is a really important thing for these times. Collectively speaking, I feel that for the past hundreds of years that we've been in a very masculine-focused paradigm. And within that, I feel women have always held deep power within the culture. But I feel now in particular, in this time where things have evolved to become so out of balance. I feel that it's really the feminine voice that needs to be heard to understand how to come into deeper connection with ourselves and with the earth. And I, as I mentioned, didn't have a super musical family growing up. However, I did have parents that supported the arts. And as you mentioned, I have journeyed through expressions through various mediums over the years, from visual arts to, going to film school and having a film production company. But the music for me has been this like mysterious sort of heart calling, because I don't know if you can relate to this, but I was always like attracted to musician boyfriends.
I can relate to that. I married one. I've always been too, but wonderful that, yes, I've been always attracted. It's just a magnet.
Right. So eventually I came around and realized that it was actually like me that was really longing to express my musicality. That was just sort of like inherent within me, but it was kind of dormant and just waiting to awaken. And so I found my voice through chanting and on the path of yoga. I was doing Kundalini yoga for several years, and then eventually shifted into deepening my relationship with Amma, the hugging saint. And it was through those communities that, we were just really singing for God. That was like the main primary purpose. But in that process, my voice just really started opening through my heart. I was just putting my heart into it, and naturally the voice just opened and started to follow. And I had a block around creating original music for a long time. I had put some effort into it, but not much. It was just felt like I didn't feel like ready to express myself in that way yet. But I ended up coming to North Carolina a couple of years ago, and I had this really miraculous experience just being in the spirit of the Deep South, which is like, I feel is so rich in the origins of American, popular music.
Yes,
and
true.
I really feel it's like the spirit of the ancestors were just coming to me, and all these tunes were just coming to me, and I started waking up in the middle of the night and writing them into my phone, recording them into my phone, while I was in that more receptive, dreamlike state. And then just started to find the courage to express them in my waking reality. And I was surprised just like how much support I've found through fellow artists and musicians and producers who have believed in me and have been supporting me to bring this expression out. So,
well, then that makes a whole lot of sense, because I love all the songs, and I know we're going to talk about your Daughter Dear project and your music project. And the song Dancing in the Dark just captivates me. And it's sort of this, to me, it reminds me of just what you explained, sort of those roots. It's kind of that, it feels very that Bayou, New Orleans-y, Southern-y, like energy to it. And I had always felt that when I heard it, like, woo. And then now you explaining it, kind of where your connection's coming in, definitely it feels aligned.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. That song in particular was fun because I woke up and wrote a dream down that became the lyrics for the song, and I was sitting in the hot tub, and I just thought to myself, like, how would Dolly Parton sing this? And the tune just sort of like flowed naturally. So yeah, that's been fun.
Great.
I really enjoyed while I've been down here in the South, just like digging deeper into the music history of this place, of Memphis and Tennessee and New Orleans. It's been a really enriching part of my journey here in the South.
Well, can we shift into the journey of this album and how it's come through? We've done shows here, by the way. We did a show here called From Trauma to Triumph. And so this feels like part 2 or 3, because we've done lots of shows talking about how things have happened in our lives and have led us to become something else, or to unlock who we are, or to become more of what we're meant to be. So when we're talking about music as medicine, it feels in that regard as well that this is one of those healing projects. So maybe you want to share a little bit about how it came to be, and then we can, on the next segment, we'll take a break and then talk more about kind of currently what's happening with it.
Great. Yeah, so I, about this time last year, I just had released my first single, Dancing in the Dark, which you've mentioned, and was getting really great reception for that. I was on the way to completing this 4-song EP, and I had a big sort of turn of life events where I was actually intending to move to Kansas City for a relationship. A man who I thought I was going to start my life with. And I ended up having like a really painful experience from that taught me a lot about myself. It wasn't what I hoped or thought it would be. And so that was already, a piece of grief that I came back to New Mexico with that disappointment. And then 2 weeks later, I was actually driving home from the AMA program, and I was parked in traffic. I was like almost home on the one-way, and I got rammed by a SUV at 40 miles an hour. And I was like in this tiny little hatchback car, and the car went over, like the SUV hit me above the bumper. So the frame of the car didn't take the impact. The back of my head took the impact. So it was, wow. I think when it happened, my words were just like, are you kidding me? Like, I just couldn't believe that this was like happening, on top of such a painful heartbreak. And, it was really intense. I felt like there was like a fireball going through the back of my head. And I stayed kind of frozen in bed. It was like the summer solstice of last year, and yet I was like frozen in bed for a few days. And my brother said, you should really get that checked out. So I did. I went to the urgent care, and I just I couldn't even sit up in my seat. I couldn't even fill out the forms. And pretty quickly, the doctor diagnosed me with a sustained concussion. And I was so thankful that I saw a doctor that had a lot of good education around concussion. And I went home with a sheet of symptoms of a concussion, and just so I had a better understanding of what was going on, because it was just such a disorienting experience that I didn't really have any context for it. And although it was very humbling, because I was actually back with my parents during that time, and just completely dependent. I mean, they were doing the cooking, they were doing the cleaning. I couldn't work. I got time off the screen, which was really needed for me at the time. But basically, this opportunity gave me the chance to start to heal from the inside out, and that really informed the work that's on the album. There was actually a song that started coming through before these events happened that said, watch out for that big storm coming. Watch out for that big storm coming. And so it did. The big storm came, and I feel that these things happen. At some points in our life, we have experiences that blindside us, and my way of coping with it was through the music. So I would go and sit in front of the piano for an hour or so every afternoon, and that was really my saving grace during that time, because there was a lot that I was doing to heal physically and emotionally, but as a creative being, that's like such a big part of my identity and sense of purpose here on earth, that I needed a place where I could kind of like rebuild myself.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want you to hear more about her upcoming project, but for now, I want you to listen to a track from her upcoming called Sacred Lover. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio. We will be back in a moment.
Oh, sacred lover. Oh, sacred lover. Oh, sacred lover. I could kiss your face forever, even knowing you'll be the death of me. Throw me in your sacred fire, yeah. Take the very breath right out of.
Muscle Tuners International Incorporated presents the Energy Boost Self-Care Specialist Program. Become one today and facilitate others to use self-care techniques for energy, vitality, and resilience. Feel the body electric and experience more strength, flexibility, and mobility after a daily routine of these amazing techniques. They are easy to do and as important as exercise, drinking clean water, eating nourishing foods, and sleep. For more information and to register for this online and in-person program, go to muscletuners.fit. Please note there is limited seating for their first in-person seminar in Fort Myers, Florida on April 13th. Be one of the first Energy Boost self-care specialists in Florida today. Reserve your seat now at muscletuners.fit.
Theta healing is an energy modality that targets not only physical health issues, but also the underlying thoughts and emotions. It clears emotional roadblocks to bring us to full health and happiness. With an extensive background as a psychotherapist, spiritual coach, and Theta healing practitioner, Patty Wilson brings great empathy and insight to both her individual clients and the students she teaches to become certified Theta healing practitioners. Right now, as a special offer exclusive to ZGR listeners, Patty is offering a reduced price of $120 a session for both telephone and in-person appointments for new clients only. That's going to run through January 31st, 2019. If you are ready to learn more about how Theta healing can help you or your clients, please visit www.spiritualcoaching.ca or email spiritualcoach@hotmail.com today.
Are you experiencing pain in your everyday life? Do you feel like you are alone and no one understands you? Pain Help is a mind, body, and soul transformational program that can help you. Call Christy Owen now for a free consultation. 630-740-0312. 630-740-0312.
Okay, so we are back. You just heard a little snippet of Sacred Lover, which I just love that song. I had mentioned it on the first segment. Okay, so here we are. So how long has this been? Has this been a couple years now in the making of you kind of going where you are now in the healing process and making all this wonderful new music, and both in New Mexico and in Asheville, one of the coolest places ever? Has it been a couple years in the making of where you are now from when that all happened?
Yeah, it's I came to Asheville for the first time a couple of summers ago, and that's when this evolution began. The accident happened last summer, so I'm actually in a full rebirthing period right now, nice. 9 months later. So Yeah.
Tell me about what's happening. I just saw this incredible website when you were sending me your press kit, and I was blown away by what's happening on there. And I have to say, I see a lot of people, they share their websites. I work with musical artists and musicians and actors, and they're wonderful artists. And it's not always translated as beautifully, but this is so beautifully done. I'm just giving you that. And then let's just talk about the project itself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the project that I have embarked on is called Turn of the Tide. And it is my first full debut album that I'm currently in the process of fundraising for. If you check out my site, daughterdearmusic.com, you can learn more about it. And basically, it is the songs that I generated from my deep period of healing, of rehabilitating myself, and all of the powerful, juicy emotions that were affiliated with that time are interwoven into this album. And it basically takes you on a journey of healing the heart and the head from a heartbreak and a traumatic brain injury.
It's amazing. I hear this a lot. I've experienced it myself a lot, that Spirit brings things in 1-2 punches. Spirit brings things kind of like all together. I've always wondered that. It's kind of like, here's the big knock, and by the way, it's like, here's the earthquake, and then here's a couple aftershocks in between. But I guess I'd rather get periods like that out of the way all at once than over and over and over. So I guess I'm grateful, because then the healing can begin, and then we can share that healing with others. This is how Zeta Global Radio was even born, as a result of a trauma, in a way to be able to talk about it on the air and find out that other people have those same concerns or worries or fears or experiences. And are you finding along your journey with this that you're meeting other people who've experienced what you've gone through?
Yes, I was really relieved at a certain point in the healing process to find the hashtag Love Your Brain. And that led me to a community that was started by a former pro snowboarder and who received a pretty bad traumatic brain injury. And his brother and his family began this foundation to create more awareness and community around TBI. And it was in watching one of their video documentaries that was talking about the spectrum of TBI, because, sometimes people think it has to be like something really, really severe to be considered TBI. But, the tricky thing is that, like, there wasn't really like physical evidence, in terms of like a wound on my head, but when it's actually like inside of your mental faculties and your psychology and your emotions, it's something that's difficult for others to understand that haven't been through it. And I just feel really thankful to have learned about others that have gone through similar journeys of receiving bad concussions or multiple concussions, and recognizing that, it really significantly rattles the brain and the wiring of the brain, and that takes time to heal. It takes a lot of rest. It takes a lot of support. It takes a lot of really reinventing the whole routine of life, so that way you can maintain your energy and find that new place of equilibrium. And it's never fully the same, and maybe it shouldn't necessarily be. I mean, I have become so much more conscious about my rhythms of life now, to make sure that I'm really balancing what I'm doing with getting enough rest. And there's just subtle adjustments that I've had to make, and there's also like sacrifices and things that are painful, myself being a dancer and a yogi. Physically, I'm not at the full capacity that I used to be, but it's giving me the chance to kind of reinvent my routine and my body awareness from the inside out. And I feel that when trauma gets triggered, it also oftentimes triggers past trauma as well. And so I'm also, grateful for the mental health care profession and just the support that I've received to heal, from even deeper back than the accident. So I feel like that's really the gift of it, and also the compassion. I mean, I know before I knew people who went through traumatic brain injuries or had chronic illness issues, and I didn't have very much. I had some level of compassion, but I'm sure maybe
it opens you up.
Experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just where you feel like once you've tasted something like that, you can have so much more compassion for what others go through. So I feel like it's deepened me, and ultimately I don't wish it upon anybody. I don't ever wish to go through it again, but I have come to see it as a blessing.
So you are embarking on this new debut, this 4-song EP. Are you looking to do a full-length album, or where are you planning on going with the journey?
Thank you for asking. So yeah, the 4-song EP is complete, and the way I've structured it is that when you purchase the EP, it also goes towards the funding of the full album. And so that's been fun. I just recently started a Kickstarter project for that very mission.
How do people learn about that?
They can learn about it through my website at daughterdearmusic.com.
I love that. And do you want to share what Daughter Dear is all about?
Yes. I came to that name through an experience with my spiritual teacher, Amma. I went to India to study classical dance a few years back, and that was also a really powerful, transformative, creative process for me, and a dedication to really just study some very old school, strict Indian classical style. I had felt an affinity with the temple dance of India since I was a young girl, and it was just really an act of courage to go and study it for a couple of winters. And I felt it was one of the highlights of my life was taking that dance and sharing it with Amma at the program that she does in New Mexico in the summer. And so when I danced that for her, I went up afterwards. She called me up to give me a blessing and pinched my cheeks and said, "Very good," and which was cool because you don't really hear her speak English that much. But she whispered down into the depth of my soul. She just said, "Daughter, daughter, 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 daughter." And that just really stuck with me somehow. It was just it felt like it really encompassed what it is that I'm about, is this, this feeling of the daughter of the Divine Mother. And I wanted to make it accessible. So the Daughter Dear just kind of to me, it was almost like a prayer for our daughters of tomorrow, that their voices may be heard and that they may be empowered moving into these times, and doing that through sharing and empowering my own voice.
Perfectly said. Well, I think you definitely do that through your music, and you are doing live performances. And do you have any coming up, by the way?
I just received booking at the Mosslight in Asheville for April 12th. So keep your eyes and ears out for that. I'll put some information about it on my website. Yeah.
Well, we might have to have you come this way, make your way down to Florida, and we have lots of people who would be very interested to see you perform and support the beautiful work that you're doing. Yeah, we'll stay in touch about that.
I would love that.
Well, for those of you who cannot get to Asheville or to Florida, you can definitely see and hear more about what Mary Arose is up to at daughterdearmusic.com. And I just want to wish you much success as you unfold this beautiful next phase of your life and healing journey. I think we're always healing. Even when we think we've healed, there's more to uncover. And it's just, music is such a beautiful platform, isn't it? To share those words and lyrics to connect with others, whether it's the lyrics, whether it's the harmonies, whether it's the person. I mean, it's just a wonderful platform to get messages across, and I'm so glad you're doing it that way.
Thank you so much for having me, and you continue to be an inspiration for me. I just want to say I'm really proud of you for growing through the hardships and continuing to move forward and offer your gifts and serve our global spiritual community.
Thank you. It's so, first I'm touched. I really receive of that. I don't always have people on the show. Most of the people I've only known through their celebrity, but there are then the few who've known me a very long time. And so I really take that in, my love. So thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you to our listeners for being here and taking in this moment. We will definitely continue the journey here with Conscious Musicians. In fact, we have some wonderful, wonderful musicians coming up here. Gypsy Feats, I know a lot of you have been hearing about them. They will be on our show in the next couple weeks. So keep listening, keep subscribing to Zeta Continuum. Keep sharing the beautiful work we do here on YouTube. You can listen to our shows and all of our beautiful beings. Most of them are on our Facebook pages and, of course, our private group, Zeta Global Radio's Deeper Dive into Consciousness. Some of our guests are on there as well. You can ask them further questions as well. All right. Wishing you a beautiful, blessed week, everyone. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Dancing in the dark, in a town where the night is long and the day never seems to come.